Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Coffin Talkin', where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Holly. So we both have news as far as family reunion. We had a nice family reunion, and it was a lot of fun. We were in Athens, Ohio, and beautiful scenic area, and a nice Airbnb that we were in. Well, all the family was there. So that was encouraging and actually fun to have everyone there. Great to see the grandkids.
That was very fun.
What about you, Holly? What happened with you?
I mean, that's it.
Were you there as well? Oh, that's right. You were there. Yeah. I was too busy with the grandkids. No.
Yeah, that checks out. There's so many of them now. They outnumber us, or they equal us, right?
They do. Well, no, there's 10.
No, there's 9 adults.
Oh, yeah, there's 9. There's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 9 adults and 8 grandchildren.
9 adults. Oh, no.
Oh, no. And number 9 is on the way.
I know. I was just going to say. They're going to overpower us.
Our oldest daughter, your oldest sister, is the great equalizer.
I know. Thanks a lot. Jeez.
No, but it was fun. It was good. Wish we had snow, but we didn't get any. Got some rain.
Yeah, we got a lot of rain.
Yep.
We had a spooky moment where the power got cut. It wasn't cut. It was just wind. But it was a lot of fun. You could just
see Holly's face and wide open mouth. Oh, wide open eyes. Wow. But yeah, it was
spooky.
Fun. Spooky dooky. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always really good to get together with everyone.
Yeah, it is. And we had a tremendous game of salad.
Yeah, we really did.
We tied.
Fantastic. I know, we tied every time.
I know. That's yeah. It was all good. Fun time. So thanks, family, for having us all get together. Family. It was fun. Thanks for joining us.
I did let everyone know that I'm done with going to Ohio.
I know you did. You made that very clear. You made that announcement.
I made that very clear on multiple occaamos.
And that's when we had to finally yell out with a megaphone, "Holly, get off the roof." Because you were shouting. I think you were shouting it from the rooftop.
You can't make me. Oh my gosh.
Just slide down the roof, Holly.
Just slide down. It's okay. Yeah, no, I think I went a little bit overkill with that.
With the no more in Ohio stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
It started as a joke, and then it got very serious very fast.
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's where all the grandkids are at. And so
I know, at least for the next little bit.
For the little bit. February.
Yeah, so it was perfect. It honestly is the perfect place. Or I guess the perfect situation to have everyone there. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. I was going to say you climbed a rock, but I just remembered you were holding a baby, so you couldn't climb the rock. Yep. There was a big rock. I got halfway up the mountain, then I said, I'm done with this. So I sat on a tree trunk. And then Kaden and other siblings went up and got to the top of the rock. And they had a great time. And then they slid on their butts all the way down because of the rain the night before. Yeah. The leaves were so wet. No footholds anywhere. So
everybody slid.
Yeah, were ruined.
We called that the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
The Big Rock Candy Mountain. That's right.
Because it was huge. It was a big rock.
It was really big.
Beautiful. I understand the view wasn't so big from the top.
I know.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of a disappointing thing there. So what
Only
else?
For those that went to the top of the rock.
That's correct.
We, the smart ones.
We already know. We flew the drone up. We saw it from it.
It's fine.
Hey, you guys go ahead and climb it. Okay. I'll show you the video footage later.
Yeah, exactly.
We also noticed that no one took photos while they were up there.
I know.
So
Silly.
it must not have been a big deal. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, nothing really much. I went to the doctor this week.
Okay. All
Because I
checking
had
out
like this
okay?
horrible earache. So we
Mhm.
went to the doctor, checked out my ear. I have this thing in my ear. It's not an ear infection, but it's where your body fights off. Okay, I learned this all from the doctor. Apparently, your body fights off infection first with the mucus in your
That's
nose.
correct.
And apparently, I was going to get sick, but then I didn't because my mucus did a great job. But then it got stuck in my ear.
What, did you drool at night one night or what?
I don't know, I guess. So
How does it
now
go
it's
from the
all
nose to the ear?
clogged up there. It's all clogged up. And so I
Oh
have to
boy.
take Sudafed and do the little
Oh yeah, the
spray.
Zantac thing. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. The
that
mist.
thing,
The
the
nasal mist.
mister.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was just a disgusting image.
Are you feeling better?
I am feeling much better. And
Oh,
honestly, it
good.
wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big thing, but it was enough that I was like, if it's an
Uncomfortable.
ear infection, I just want to go get the drug so I can kick it soon.
Right.
But it
Right.
wasn't. It was just my mucus in my ear
From your nose.
from my nose.
Oh wow.
Great.
I don't know how that works, but okay. Whatever.
Yeah, me either. Yep, that's that. Anything else with you?
No, not really.
Yeah, I guess we
Kinda
need
busy.
to apologize to Coffiners for not putting out an episode last week. It
Yep.
has just been, it was crazy with lots of family all around and then traveling back to our homes. So
Yes.
we're back
we hope
now.
we hope everyone had a very happy New Year and a very Merry Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever.
Whatever you celebrate.
Yep, whatever you celebrate.
Hope it was a happy one.
Yes, it was. For me, it was.
Good. For me too.
And the fictitious Lisa had a birthday.
She did.
She did have
we
a
made
birthday.
soup.
We made soup. Her favorite soup.
We made soup and we ate key lime pie.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Coffiners, I have to tell you, I try and keep as incognito as possible. Some of you do know me, and I came home one evening, and the yard was stabbed all over the place with knives. And so I do have to do a shout out to who has described herself as my number one fan. And it was very cool the way she did it. She placed knives in the yard. They were clear knives. You wouldn't know they were there. Plastic knives. You wouldn't know they were there unless someone shined a light on it, or if you just happened to look at it at the specific time of day and it would be reflective. But she had actually placed the episode names of all the episode names on the knives and had stuck them all around
her favorite episodes.
No, they were all the episodes.
It was all of them?
I think she wrote down all the episodes.
That's a lot of knives.
That is a lot of knives. And then I started thinking, hold it, she's using knives.
Hold on. Is this a threat? I do remember you sent a picture.
We love you. Mm-hmm.
We love you. We really do.
Yeah.
You sent a picture of her calling card, I guess, and it said from Mallory, and then on the back it says, "I know where you live." So
that's right.
There's that.
And Mallory doesn't even live in the state.
No,
I just kind of want to know
passing through.
She find me. I got to stop by this house.
Yep.
I got all my knives already.
Oh my gosh, just passing through.
But you know what? That's fun. It was fun to look at and to see. It brought a smile to my face, and I guess it's much better than toilet papering. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take it. Easier cleanup.
Yeah, but it was fun. And I think I have all the knives still in a box, a little Tupperware box holding onto them with number one fan.
Mm-hmm. There
as
you
a
go.
As a reminder. So thank you for that, Mallory.
But with that,
anything else?
No, let's jump in. Let's be frank. First time in 2025.
Okay. So we're going to start. This just happened to me this afternoon. I want to go and dispel another myth.
Oh, a myth.
a myth, and that is, remember we've talked in past episodes about pre-needs. Now, just for coffiners that might be joining us, a pre-need is another word for saying I'm going to go in advance before I pass away, and I'm going to just prearrange what I want done at my funeral. So that's a pre-need. And this, so the myth is that once a pre-need has been established, that everything has been taken care of, everything has been paid for. That's the myth. The reality is that we can go through, once the person passes away, go through, and we legally, in some states, legally, you have to abide by the price that's actually been placed on the pre-need for specific items. And you can't really vary from that. If your items have increased in price, you really can't increase the price. You should really keep it at the price that was actually assigned those items at the time the policy was written. So that being said, this particular family came in today and we were going through it, and everything was fine, excepting for two things. One, a funeral coach, and flowers. Flowers were at they had paid $300 for flowers. They wanted 3 pieces. That would mean that each piece was $100. And I told them that the price of flowers today is $525 for those 3 arrangements. And,
whoa.
But I looked at it. So that's $225 difference. And so I looked at her and I said, is there anything in there that we can go ahead and take off that would offset the cost of the flowers? And so they said, well, does he have to be embalmed if we aren't going to view him? I said, you're going to put him in a casket though, right? And she said, yes. And I said, no, you don't have to, so long as no one opens the casket. So that became a saving. So you're just switching. Again, nothing was really changed from the funeral policy. You're just switching monies from one category to another. And they were very happy with it. And then when they were leaving, they said, oh, yes, and we need some translators, ASL translators, to be present at the service. And so I said, that's not covered in your policy. You know that, right? And she said, just let me know what the cost is. So yeah, there are some things, if you're changing the policy at the time of death, just know that some funeral homes will say, okay, well, that cancels it. Now we're going to look at it as a total cash payment. And then whatever you choose to do, we'll just go ahead, and since you're making the changes on the policy, we're going to go ahead and just a la carte it and then see what the final cost is. You'll pay the difference, which I don't think that's fair, but that's what some people will do. Anyway, okay, let's get to the story. So on one particular, and if you have any questions, coffiners, please call or email us. Holly's saying that
call.
Yeah, we don't have a direct line, Holly.
We need a coffin talking phone. Yeah. Hey, like the bat phone.
Yeah, that's correct.
But for funerals.
Or for those during the episode. Maybe we should set you up with a coffin talking phone, Holly.
Oh, geez.
Coffin talking. So
that's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I get a call from a care facility, an assisted living facility, which means that it's a private home that has opened up. You would drive down a neighborhood and wouldn't know that it's a care facility at all.
Okay.
It's an assisted
It's in a neighborhood.
Yeah, it's in a neighborhood. And she's kind of frantic. She says, I need so-and-so picked up. He has just passed away, and I need you to get here just as quick as you possibly can. Can you give me an ETA? So it was kind of a quiet day for us. And I just looked at the clock and I said, well, your address is such and such, and you're about 12 miles from us. So I could probably be there in 40 minutes. And she said, well, as soon as you can would be great. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, okay, fine. Got some information, hung up the phone. And as I'm driving to the facility, I'm thinking, what's the, because you very seldom get.
What's the rush?
Yeah, exactly. You very seldom get individuals that will demand that you get there just as quickly as possible. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what am I walking into, or what is it exactly that's going to be happening? So I get there, and it took me 32 minutes. So she was grateful that we were that fast. So I walked into the facility, and she met me, and she said, oh, okay, things have kind of calmed down. So you can go ahead, and everyone's left. You can go ahead, and he's right in this room here. If you need any help, please let me know. So I walk into the room. Everything seemed to be fine. And I do know that there was a surviving spouse, because that was the name I was given. I was given her name as the next of kin to contact once he was in my care. So in the process of moving him from the bed to the gurney, I noticed that There was some sheets tightly wrapped around him, which is nice because a lot of places will do that for you. So I didn't really think much about it, but I just thought, oh, good. Here's a place that will actually wrap the individual for you before you get there to pick them up and bring them into your care. And it just makes things much easier. So I just moved him over to the gurney and was on my way. And I went out to the counter in their kitchen area and I said, do you have an HRRF form for me to sign? And she said, yes, I do. So I signed it and I handed back to her and I said, I just need one copy. And she took the copy from me. She said, be aware of the wife. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, oh, you'll understand when you meet her. And I said, oh, okay. And so I kudos to her really for not spilling the beans regarding the wife. And so I went on ahead and took my sheet and moved him into the car, got him into the car, and then made my way to the mortuary. And at the mortuary, I gave this woman a call. And she said, oh, he's there. And I said, yes. And she just wanted a cremation, no services or anything like that. She just said, I'd like to see him one more time before you cremate him. And I said, well, that's fine. We can do that. She said, we set up a date and a time. And it was like 3 days from the phone call. So it was about the time that I would be getting the authorization and everything that's about the time that the cremation would be approved to go forward. And so I thought, okay, that's perfect timing. She'll do it. The next day I'll get him to the crematory. That day arrived and I had forgotten about it. And she just came in and she said, I'm here to see Mr. So-and-so. And I looked at her and I said, I am so sorry. I didn't write down the times, but it'll take me just a minute to get things ready for you. And if you have that amount of time, she says, oh, it's okay. I'll wait. So she just sat down and in the foyer of the mortuary, there's some very comfortable chairs, and she had sat in one of those chairs and had fallen asleep.
Oh,
which I thought, okay, well, that's great because now I don't have to feel
take however much time I need.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, 4 hours have passed by. You're going to come and see her husband or what? What's going on?
We're actually closing.
Yeah. So I went on. I did get him out of that back area, and I got him into the chapel, and had stepped forward, noticed that she was asleep, and so I just barely touched and caressed her arm to just kind of a slow wake up because this is an elderly lady, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but when you're awakened and you aren't probably not expecting it, you jump.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, she not only jumped, but she took her right hand and she just slammed it on my hand.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, physically she slapped me on my hand, and I go, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm so sorry that I woke you like that. I was trying to be soft and gentle, and she says, oh, okay, that's fine. Is he ready to see? And I said, sure, come on with me. So I said, it's kind of a shallow room. You're going to see him immediately when you walk into the room. She said, thank you. And I said, he's just covered in a quilt. He's been wrapped in that sheet that he was in when I brought him into my care. And there's a quilt over the top of him. You're just going to see his face. She said, okay. And so I opened the door and she just went very stern. No expression on her face. She walked like a robot to where the gurney was at. And I said, Mrs. So-and-so, I'm going to close the door now. If you need anything, I'll just be in the office right here. But I'll check on you in about 5 minutes just to make sure you're okay. And she said that would be great. And I went into the office, and then I heard what I thought was crying. And that's common, right? People cry when they see their loved ones that have passed away. And I guess they'd been married. They had been married for about 45 years, maybe 60. Because she was elderly. She didn't really tell me how long they'd been married, and we don't get into that stuff, so it's just speculation, unless they volunteered, and she did not. So I hear what's kind of crying, and then I hear yelling and screaming, and I'm thinking to myself, hold it, did she go into that room by herself, or is she yelling at a family member? That's what I'm thinking, and I thought, well, hold it, someone must have stepped in there while she was in there. She's mad that someone's now visiting with her, and she's still in there, hasn't had her time. So I kind of walked to the door and I listened a little bit closer. And, sometimes you see people on the street and they're ranting and raving, but they're talking to themselves or to no one.
Yeah.
But they're just yelling. And that's what I saw when I opened the door just briefly. She was just yelling. And I just thought, okay, she's just venting. Just get it out of her system. That's fine. So while I opened the door and she was in this process of venting, I just said to her, "Hey, Mrs. So and so, would you like some water?" She said, "No, thank you." And I said, "Okay." And it was very short and kind of angrily said no. And I just kind of backed out of the room. Didn't really think much more about it. And then I hear it again, a continual wailing. And I mean, top of the lung yelling. And I was at that point grateful that no one else was in the building. But
Yeah.
she's just yelling. And this time, when I opened the door, she was physically pounding on his chest.
On the
And as I
deceased chest.
on the deceased chest, and as I
Oh
opened the
my
door, she had
gosh.
just delivered the loudest, hardest slap across his face
Oh my
that I,
gosh.
yeah, that I had ever witnessed. And I just said, "Whoa, whoa!"
Outside
And
of her slapping your hand.
yeah, exactly. And maybe, and I only tell you that story because it'll come around here in just a minute. But as I'm standing there in the doorway, I've opened the door and she says, "You will never touch me like that again. You will never force yourself on me again. You will never hit me like that again." And she just
Oh.
hit me. She says, "How's that feel? How's that feel?" And now all of a sudden I'm getting a whole new picture where this lady obviously was being abused by her husband.
Right.
And so you would never have known that just by how calm she was. But the same reaction that I got when I just tried to caress her arm and get her awake was that slap on my hand, making
She
me
was in fight mode.
exactly. And that's kind of what she was living with when, I guess, when he was admitted to the nursing facility. And she felt obligated to still go see him when he was in that assisted living facility. And that's what the lady was talking about. You got to get her out. You got to as quickly
Oh.
as possible. But the wife had left in the interim, so there was really no issue. And so
But they
with the
knew if
wife,
she came back, it would be the
yes,
scene, but in the nursing home.
right. And so there obviously was a scene in the nursing home. And so I just casually took her. I just sat in a pew behind or chair behind where she was standing. I don't know if she realized I was in the room or not. And so finally, enough of the yelling and screaming and hitting and slapping had gone on that I just walked up to her and I said, "You need to calm down just a little bit." And I said, "We are in
Mhm.
a public facility and I just need to, and if you're willing and able to at this time, we need to continue the arrangement process so that we can go ahead and get a death certificate started and get done what you want done." And she goes, "Okay." And it's just like that, just as calm as could be.
Huh.
And I turned to walk and she reached out and she grabbed my elbow and she was holding my elbow and she started to pinch it just a little bit. And she said, "I'm not hurting you, am I?" I said, "No." And she goes, "That's what he used to do to me. He used to grab my elbow, except he wouldn't hold it as soft as I'm holding you. He would pinch it to where I was bruising and to where I
Oh.
almost felt like my elbow was going to be dislocated." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, what is she going through?" And because I'm not looking at her.
Right.
She's just talking to me from behind when we're walking out of the room. We made it to the table and we started taking information and out comes this story. Out
Mhm.
comes this unloading her, venting just a little bit about how they had fallen in love when they were, I don't know, in their early 20s. Their early 20s, not early 20s, 1920s, but in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be 100 years old. Anyway, she begins talking about 10 years into their marriage, he became very obsessive of her. He wasn't allowing her to talk to anyone. She was confined to the home. And if he found out that she was talking to anyone on the phone, he became very curious, kind of spiteful, and jealous with regards to who she was spending her time with on that phone when she should be directing her attention to him when he came home. Any conversation should be ended and it should be directed to him. And she said, and then it became very physical. And
Mm.
she said, so for close to 35 years, I've put up with a verbal, emotional, and physical abuse from him.
Oh.
And I just looked at her and I said, "How did you put up with it, or why did you stay?" She said, "I had to stay because I was afraid he'd kill me."
Oh my
And
gosh.
so now you start thinking about stories about all these individuals that have spousal abuse or individuals that are afraid to leave their spouse because they're in a society of today of technology. I don't know. I've never really done it, but how hard is it or would it be to actually track someone down? I don't know. So
Mhm.
anyway, that was her biggest fear. And so she said when he was passing away, she became very angry and she started hitting him. She said, "Yeah, take that. Take that. Can you take that now? Can you handle that okay?" Because that was one of his after he would abuse her. And when I say physically, it was sexually, physically and also emotionally abuse, but
Mhm.
he would always follow it up with, "Oh, suck it up," or "Oh, be better than that. You didn't get hurt. Come on."
Oh.
And so when he had passed away, when she lost all control of that anger, she just started to take it out on him. And the day that he died, that's when I guess she got most physical with
Mhm.
him. And she was pretty physical with him in our facility. So I think that's what the nurse was talking about as far as getting there as quickly as possible. And when she was on her way out of that mortuary after making arrangements and stuff, she said, "Could I go see him one more time?" And I just said, "I don't think it's probably not a good
Probably no.
idea." Yeah, probably not. And
Mm.
so luckily for me, she understood my comment that it was
Yeah.
probably a good idea because she would just fly off the handle again, I'm sure. Anyway, so by the time she left and by the time she picked up the cremated remains, she excused herself and she says, "Can I take these with me?" And I said, "Sure." But she was going to the restroom. So she asked if she could take them with her, and she came back and she handed me the urn, and it was empty.
She flushed him.
She says he's right where he needs to be.
Oh my gosh.
I said, "Did you guys have children?" And she goes, "No, I wouldn't give him children." And she said, "And even when I did get pregnant, he never knew." So that tells you
Oh,
that she aborted children, right?
right.
So, she had a very hard life. And, I just think that sometimes we become judgmental people. And I
Mhm.
look at it sometimes and in this particular instance, wonder what family members must have been thinking if they knew about it or why no one intervened and just said, "Hey, this is a toxic relationship. You need to get out from under it. You need to get away from him." But
Mhm.
they were together for that long. So I don't know. And I've always heard, and I don't know that it's true, and maybe you've heard this too, Holly. Maybe you've read studies about individuals that are in an abusive relationship and they get out of it. They migrate back to another abusive relationship. It's like they think
Mm.
they're in a cycle where they can never get out of it. Unless, of course, the woman finds a man that's truly willing to love her for who she is and not be so violent in that relationship. But from what I understand, and maybe coffiners can tell me, or maybe there's psychologists out there that have listened to this story that would say, Frank, and Holly, you're probably right. There is that cycle that happens
Mm.
where they try and break away from a relationship. They're grateful to get out of it, but then they fall in love with someone who becomes abusive again. So
Mm.
it's a cycle, and I don't know. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but that's what I've heard. So if there are individuals out there that might have another story regarding abuse or witness something that may have been happening that we might be able to learn from, I'm happy to hear it and happy to learn from it. So anyway, when she left, she called me after, I don't know, maybe a week after he had been disposed of. And
Right.
she asked if there was anything that she could do for me.
Mm.
And I said to her, "What do you mean by that? What would you want to do for me?" She goes, "Is there anyone that you're working with right now that has the same type of experience that I've had?" I said, "Not to my knowledge." I said, "If there is, what would you do?" And she goes, "I would just kind of be a friend. I would want them to know that they're not alone, that there is someone else out there that's experienced the same type of thing that they may be going through at that very moment." And so I just thought for a moment, and as she was saying that, I thought, how courageous is that?
Yeah.
To actually, now that she's been free of this arbiter of anger, lust, jealousy, whatever the case was happening in their home, and now she's willing to offer her experiences to try and help someone else. And
Mhm.
she had to be in her late 70s, early 80s, but and it was a very sincere request. And so I have never, since that time, I haven't run across anyone else that's been so either manifestive in their actions towards their loved one or their hate one, whichever.
Yeah.
And I've never had anyone voice an anger opinion like that since that lady. And so
Hmm.
I've never been able to express to her someone else that might need that help and that understanding. But she, I think, if she really wanted to, and I think she has and will continue to reach out. She's called me twice since the cremation of her husband, and so I haven't heard from her for a while. I don't know if she herself has passed away. I don't know. And so anyway, I just found that story kind of interesting. And we talk a lot about that one. Remember, go back to that episode where that one guy was so angry that he had passed away. And you could feel
Yeah.
vibrations. You could feel something going on around the area that he was situated, to where there's even vibration on the shelving unit that he was set on.
Mhm.
That I kind of wonder if the same thing was happening with her, the vibration. And I did find it interesting. And Coffiners, please understand what I'm about to say, because it can be controversial a little bit, only in the sense that I said, well, did he ever explain why he was so abusive? And she said no. And I said, did he ever apologize? And she goes, if he did, he probably did it while I was sleeping. And
Mm.
I just thought to myself, well, then was that really an apology? Because what if she was in a comatose state and you're apologizing, and
Exactly.
if she could hear it or not is immaterial. You want a response, right? Isn't a thank
It's
you
like
or a
put her
sorry?
there. Right.
Yeah, you want to be able to have some sort of a response from your ability to open yourself up and say, I am so sorry for what I've done.
Mhm.
And you need that response back. And so she, in her own mind, felt like he had never apologized. And I said, would you have accepted it had you heard it? She said, probably not, because
Mhm.
I know that he would not have changed.
Right.
So anyway, and I hear that kind of the same thing. And he was an alcoholic.
Hmm.
So he didn't use drugs. He wasn't an alcoholic. And sometimes you hear that with individuals that have issues with either drugs or alcohol. But yeah, she didn't, at least to her knowledge, she was not aware of him drinking or taking in some sort of a drug. So anyway, it's very important that you watch your actions around other people. And so
Mhm.
your life story, what you're learning from this episode is that whatever is happening in your life, you need to be able to apologize if you've offended somebody, and make sure that they hear the apology. They don't have to always accept it, but they need to at least hear it. And so
Yeah.
that clears you up. And then that apology then falls on the person that you're apologizing to, for them to accept the apology. So anyway, what do you think on that one, Holly?
I think that's just hard. That's just so hard. Because I mean, you don't wanna I don't know, I don't think that we could judge it. I feel so
Yeah,
sorry
you
for that
can.
woman.
Yeah. And she says
I
she has
do.
no idea. Yeah, no idea what happened. 10 years they were happily married, and all of a sudden maybe he was bipolar. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah.
But something flipped to where he became a totally different person, confining her to her
Yeah.
movement, to the house. She said she had no life, and
Mhm.
she was darn sure not to bring a child into that type of environment.
Mhm.
So
Oh, that is just so heartbreaking.
it
Abuse
is.
is so hard.
It is. And I know this is a
There's
hard subject for a lot of people, and it should be, because you want to always believe the best in people. You just always do. And if you can't, well, then come on, man. It's a new year. Try and look good on everybody. Try
yeah,
and look for the
seriously.
good of everybody. But sometimes, yeah, when people pass away, and even in family members, when they're sitting around the table talking about what they want to do, and you start telling stories about them, you see families look at each other and go, "What?
Mhm.
That's not how he treated me." I knew my dad completely different. That would be a comment that someone might make, or my
Right.
mom was completely different to me. She never treated me like that. So there are secrets that can happen, and those need to be revealed so that people can heal and be better people. So
Hmm.
anyway, I don't know what your goals are for 2025, but I think we'll start this one with this one this episode to start in the new year, saying that if you've offended anyone, try and make amends with them, because you don't want to have someone angry at you at your funeral, and
Yeah.
possibly doing something that might be embarrassing to everyone. So yeah, make amends where possible.
I will go on the flip side of that too, as well, and say that people are prone to make mistakes and very
Mm-hmm.
prideful. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times you aren't going to get the opportunity to have someone ask for forgiveness
Yeah.
for you. So I would say also if you're holding onto a grudge or something, it's I'm positive it's doing you a lot more harm than it is that person. Because if they're not asking for forgiveness, they either don't care enough to do that or they aren't thinking about it at all. But if you're
Yeah.
holding on to it, you need to find a way to be able to forgive that person and just move on. Just say it's better for me to just move on.
Yeah. And that's true because I'm thinking back to my second job that I had in this industry, and one individual that I worked with, he had no clue as to whether or not he was offending anyone,
Yeah,
and then you almost had to say, how do you feel good about saying what you just said?
right.
And then
And
they
he's like,
start
"What do you
thinking,
mean?"
yeah, exactly. What do you mean? I talk like that all
Mhm.
the time. What?
Yikes.
Okay, never married, probably never will be. Check, check.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's that story today. I again apologize for the miss of the week, and hopefully we'll just keep it going, and hopefully we would love to be able to hear from you and find out what you'd like to hear more of, because I have a lot of stories, and if you have something in particular, say, Frank, do you have a story regarding, I don't know, whatever, just let me
Mhm.
know. Any other comments,
There's
Holly?
that. No, I think that's a great one to start off with the new year with. As you're making your goals. I mean, it's not the happiest of stories, but
Yeah, let's start out with an abusive one.
let's really set the
Happy New
tone of the
Year!
year.
Yeah, Happy New Year!
What do you mean this wasn't the perfect one to start with?
Yeah, no kidding. Can't go
Oh,
anywhere but up
jeez.
from here.
Yeah, exactly. There we
There,
go.
see? Okay.
There we go. Okay, yeah. Well, we will talk with you next week. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, anything. Let's be frank at coffintalkin.com or Instagram at coffintalkin.
Let us know what you think. Thanks, Copners.
Bye.
Bye.